Good morning, traders. I am Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, July 25th. Markets are attempting to maintain momentum this morning after the S&P 500 and NASDAQ both eked out record closes again yesterday. The S&P 500 added just 4 points, or 0.07%. The NASDAQ picked up 37 points, or 0.18%. The Dow ended the session in the red, giving up 316 points, or nearly 0.75%. Bill, let's get into Friday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're up 0.16%, which is a nice way to start the day. I mean, we are in the green. I'd say that earnings reports remain, the key focus right now, because, market is preparing for a big, heavy dose of earnings, especially tech earnings next week. So this is really the key focus. Then you talk about President Trump. He visited the Fed yesterday in an effort. It was really in an effort to sway the Fed to lower interest rates. Jerome Powell's not going to bite, but that's really what it is. And he was talking about, his the cost overruns and how the taxpayer dollars are being wasted. Well, the Fed is self-funding, so it's not really taxpayer dollars essentially that's being lost here. But Donald Trump is off to Scotland for flying on Air Force One to Scotland, and where he's going to be opening up a personal golf course. It's kind of personal business. And then, late yesterday afternoon, I saw that the Trump administration gave approval to Chevron to resume oil production in Venezuela. That's kind of positive. You're looking at shares of CVX, and they're flat this morning. FCC, they approved that Paramount Global merger with Skydance. So, it was, there's more to it than that, but they did get approval, so that's a positive. SRPT, SRPT, it's fallen on concerns related to its muscular dystrophy treatment. It got, the EU gave it a thumbs down, and Brazil is taking it off the market due to deaths. Not SRPT, getting hit this morning. As I was saying, next week, very busy week for, it's like the busiest week of the year. You've got a lot going on. The highlights of next week, we get the Fed meeting, we get the U.S.-China trade talks, we get, a bunch of key economic data points. We get the GDP, we get the PCE, employment data, then get earnings from companies like Meta, Microsoft, and Apple. And then there's the possibility of a trade deal announcement, because remember, next week's the last week of July, and then we get into a situation where trade deals are going to be coming in before the first of the month, before August 1. So expect trade deals to be announced. I don't expect any deals to be announced because President Trump will be the one announcing those deals, and he's flying to Scotland today. So, you can't really expect that to be a catalyst today. But this morning, hey, the key data point is going to be that durable goods order coming out. On the earnings front, we had a lot of good earnings come out. Booz Allen, BAH, Boyd Gaming, BYD, Decker Outdoors, DECK, Edwards Life Sciences, ticker EW, and Mohawk Industries, MHK. They're all trading higher after their earnings releases. Then you have Intel. Intel is trading a little lower, and Lear, is also moving lower after their releases. But everything else is pretty positive. Turning our attention to overseas action, hey, we're looking at Europe, we're looking at Germany. The DAX is down 168 points, or 0.69%. It's really focused on corporate earnings. It really is. In London, the FTSE's down 34 points, or 0.38%. UK retail sales figures, while positive, came in below expectations. In France, France was higher. Now it's a little lower, down 4.6 points, or 0.06. But auto stocks are moving higher. That is something interesting to me. Because earnings weren't that great, but they are moving higher. Then we're turning our attention over to Asia, which realistically we saw right across the board. Tokyo, the Nikkei dropped 377 points, or 0.88%, but it was up. It was up over 5% over the last 2 days. Tokyo's core inflation for July rose by 2.9% year on year. Hong Kong finished lower by 1.09%. That ended a 5-day winning streak, because markets are a little more cautious into next week. Shanghai and China finished down 0.33%. I mean, listen, this weekend you got the industrial profits data coming out out of China. That's going to be a key economic report. And next week is this, we have two events. You get the U.S.-China trade talks, and you get the start of the Politburo meetings. The Politburo meetings are likely going to result in a stimulus action for the Chinese economy. So yeah, we could see more additional gains coming out of China in the near term. Then we're turning our attention over to oil. And oil is trading higher. It's up about 0.4%. You get WTI at $66.28 a barrel. You got Brent at $69.46 a barrel. These multiple trade agreements that are expected, shortly, that's really kind of helping to ease the concerns on forward demand. And that's what's helping oil push a little higher. And then, of course, the possible sanctions on Russian oil, that as well. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, you gave us a whole rundown of information that we're going to be keeping track of next week, starting Monday. A lot of data and information coming out and a busy week, as you mentioned. But, we're still trading on this Friday with a number of catalysts. You did mention that earnings remains a main headline here and a main market driver. So we will start there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
Got to talk about Decker's Outdoors, ticker DECK, David Edward Charlie Kilo. I mean, the fact of the matter is Decker Outdoors beat by 25 cents on higher revenue. If you look at the stock, it's up 13.86%. Remember, one of the things that they said was that they're going to be raising the cost of some of their shoes by $5, which isn't much, but that could be a real benefit. That could be a real benefit for the share price, because it is kind of depressed at $119.29. Then we're moving on into other earnings that came out. We're looking at Intel. Intel missed. They missed by like 11 cents. Stocks trading lower this morning. You look at Intel down 8.62%. Then you have Booz Allen. Booz Allen came in. They had a beat by 3 cents. But it was done. It was done on higher revenue. No, it was done on lower revenue. They beat by 3 cents on lower revenue. Booz Allen BZH. Yeah, it's up $5 or 4.67%. And AutoNation, ticker AN, they listen, they delivered a beat as well. I mean, they beat by like 77 cents, so that's very positive. That stock's trading higher. And then upcoming, we got a host of earnings coming up. Nothing today after the close, but on Monday you got Bank of Hawaii. EPS is $1.04. Expected move is 6.85%. You got RVTY, their earnings are coming out. EPS is $1.14. Expected move is 8.04%. So, Monday morning's a little light, but next week, as we get into the week, there's a ton of big earnings that we got to be paying attention to. And that's what I have for you in terms of an earnings recap, Emily.
And we'll be paying attention to all those earnings right here, giving our listeners a rundown every morning of which ones to be watching. As you said, a big week, so you're using your earnings alert to follow all of that information. And a quick note here that AutoNation was your pick of the day yesterday, another earnings play. It is trading higher this morning. We promise we will do a full recap on that before we sign off for the weekend. But now let's get to more information, including economic events. A couple of reports here. Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
Two reports. You get the durable goods orders coming out at 8:30 a.m. and then at 1 p.m. you get the Baker Hughes rig count. Now, in terms of the durable goods orders, the latest expectations is for a reading of negative 11.1. Now, that normally would scare everybody, but that's following a big surge in the previous month, which came in at 16.4. I mean, the elevated May reading was primarily due to aircraft bookings and transportation equipment. So expect a little bit of a more of a downtick this month when we get the June data. But I don't think it'll be market moving, but we'll have to wait and see when the data comes out today, Emily.
And Bill, when it comes to Corporate headlines, a heavy day for information on that front. And you're using your NewsWare. You categorize this type of data, information, and news using your NewsWare alerts, following things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're looking at your stocks grouped together, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So you can really track this information in these buckets. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Just doing a quick data recap. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 23 higher, 5 lower, and 2 unchanged. That's a positive sign for the day. Now let's do some supporting evidence and let's look at the FANG stocks, and they're all trading higher. They're up by anywhere from 0.3% to a full percentage point. So that's good to see. You look at some of the news behind the tape, like Apple. Hey, the key thing is earnings are out next week for Apple. Looking at Google, they won a deal. They won $1 billion deal to provide cloud services to ServiceNow, ticker NOW. That's positive. Meta, hey, they got their earnings next week. Tesla's trading higher this morning. They're telling their staff it plans to roll out robo-taxis in San Francisco this weekend. This weekend. Wow, that's pretty big. We'll have to see. Robots are the future for Tesla, according to Elon Musk. But he's really high on his robo-taxis as well. We're turning our attention to Dow stocks, and we got to talk about UNH, United Healthcare. They confirmed DOJ investigations, but they came out and said that they're complying with the request. United Healthcare is getting hit. It's down to $278. I mean, it's down like 40%. So if it has another leg down, you really got to start to take a look at this one. Chevron, ticker CVX, Charlie Victor X-ray, the Trump administration green light Chevron to resume pumping oil in Venezuela. You look at it, shares of Chevron, they've turned green, so they're up a fraction this morning. And we got to talk about Boeing, ticker BA, which is up 0.5% this morning. The FAA is going to examine Boeing's supply chain before it clears output hikes for the 737. It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. That's going to be another shot of in the arm for a Boeing of good news. Ticker BA, boy, Apple. Talking merger news. We're talking Paul Apple, Richard Apple. SEC approves Paramount Skydance merger. The FCC was holding up, the merger for political, reasons. I mean, as the deal went through only after Skydance agreed to end all diversity programs at the company. Once they did that, boom, the deal went through. Very political. I don't like to see that. I like politics out of business. In terms of guidance news, we're talking Decker, ticker DECK, David Edward Charlie Kilo. Decker sees Q2 EPS $1.50 to $1.55. Now the street estimate's $1.51. That's an uptick. That's positive. Intel, ticker INTC, sees Q3 adjusted EPS coming in at 0. Street estimate had it at 4 cents. The report wasn't horrible. It was just okay. It was bad, but it wasn't horrible. HCA Healthcare, that's ticker HCA, they raised their full year 2025 EPS view to $2.50 to $27. Street estimate is $25.41. So that's a big uptick for shares of HCA this morning. They're very, very positive. In terms of buyback news, First Citizens Bank share, that's FIZN, Frank India Zebra Nancy, they announced a $4 billion stock repurchasing plan. Charles Schwab, ticker SCHW, they agreed to buy back $20 billion worth of stock. And BYD, Boyd Gaming, they announced a 500 million share repurchasing plan. So a lot of good buybacks announced. But that's what I have for you about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us to close out this week?
RevFitty, ticker RVTY, Richard Victor Tom Yellow. Richard Victor Time Yellow. Earnings are out Monday morning. EPS is $1.14. Expected move is 8.04%. You look at the call volume, yeah, it is positive. I mean, 586 calls traded to only 2 puts. Open interest 360 versus 288. Okay, both are positive. I want to see the positive flow, because the negative flow indicates a warning sign. And this says it's clear. It's clearly positive. And the major brokers do like it. They are raising price targets. They had a good quarter, last quarter. The CEO said, "Hey, that first quarter is getting us off in positive momentum and should carry on throughout the year." So, I mean, I like the comments that he was saying in last quarter's press release. So, I'm a little. I think 114 might be a little high, but it's beatable. It is beatable. So RVTY, that is my pick of the day. I'm hoping to get in around $100. It's stocks trading 98 to 103.26. So I don't think 100 is crazy, but that's what I would like to do. I'd like to get in around $100 for RVTY, but it's still way away from the open, and we'll see how it opens up this morning, Emily.
We will follow that one along with you today, Bill. Another earnings play, looking at a specific entry point and really putting those data points together to make that call. It's a strategy you've used throughout the week that has worked well. And coming up, we will do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day. So stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Well, I mean, China's President Xi says the economy continues to improve steadily. Meta to halt political ads in the EU started in October. There's a Barron's report out saying Trump's visit was comedy gold. White House seeks payments from other universities, including Harvard, after Columbia deal set precedent. SRPT falls 6%. JP Morgan downgraded to underweight. And it's not the downgrade, it's what's going on with the EU and Brazilian's healthcare regulators. Downgrades is a factor because of those issues. Pony AI, ticker PONY, they're starting round-the-clock robo-taxi operations in 2 cities in China. Gilead, GILD, they got a positive EU opinion for their twice-yearly HIV prevention drug. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we get to trading on this Friday and sign off for the weekend, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. We did mention it earlier in the show. It was AutoNation. As you told us, they did report earnings this morning. They reported a Q2 adjusted EPS of $5.46. That consensus here was only $4.70, so as much as 77 cents better than the estimates out there. They've reported a Q2 revenue of $6.97 billion, ahead of the consensus of $6.8 billion. The same-store revenue increased 8% in the second quarter. We both pointed it out. The stock is up this morning. Bill, how did your call work out?
Worked out fabulous. It really did. I mean, you look at AutoNation. I mean, the stock opened up yesterday at 202.63. It fell down to 199, but I wasn't worried. It did close at 2025, and that was really, that was a huge opportunity, because this morning after the announcement, the stock's already hit 207. It's currently at 206.29. So, I mean, if you're looking for that 1%, that 1% was definitely there this morning. So, yeah, AutoNation was the winner. Ticker AM, Apple Nancy, winner.
A nice payday on this Friday, Bill, and we will check in with you on Monday about today's RVTY pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Monday and each weekday morning next week at NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.